and welcome back. Guess who it is? It is August 2nd, 2018, 9:23 p.m.
Oh man, I have been hijacked, but she is correct. It is August 2nd, 2018, except now it's 9:42 p.m. Um, anyway, guys, we got some stuff to talk about real quick. Hurricane Hector, Category 2. From a tropical storm this morning to a Category 2 hurricane in just a few hours. Rapid intensification. Obviously, this is not Hector right now. This is Hector on Wednesday the 8th, which is now showing to go over the dead center of the main island of Hawaii. So we got some stuff to talk about. Now, we're going to go to Vent2Sky real quick because I want to show you on Vent2Sky first so we could check out our pressures. You got the date right up here by August 5th. You could see it just getting into the screen here. We are zoomed in as far as we can get to the Hawaiian Islands. If you remember the first video, we dipped underneath, just skimming the south end of the Big Island and then rolling up the back islands. And then our second coverage of this storm, it had it actually going over top of it, doing the same thing, just on the reverse side, over the north side. Now, we are dealing with a hurricane that is going to pass dead center over the dead center of the Big Island, which, guys, basically it's going to go right over top of a volcano, Kilauea, which has been erupting on a daily basis for almost 2 months now. So you can only imagine what the situation will be if these data charts and information stays true, and this thing actually makes landfall in Hawaii in about, let's see the date, by August 9th. We're talking 1 week from today. We could be talking landfall of a significant hurricane on the mainland of Hawaii. So definitely a very serious situation. They are talking about it in the mainstream media already. Obviously, most, if not all, weather channels are now speaking about this. You could see this thing does drop down to the 950s right before it wants to hit land. So we could be talking about a Cat 2, borderline Cat 3, more than likely a Cat 2. So I don't see us breaking that Category 4 record from 1992. But nonetheless, guys, we need to remember we got spoiled with Category 5 hurricanes last year, and people forgot that how strong just a tropical storm can be, let alone a Category 1 through 5. So anything hitting the Big Island of Hawaii when it's got a named storm is a very serious situation. These storms are often bigger than the islands all put together. So just put that in your mind and you can get a pretty good idea about how serious the situation is. Now, even more interesting is what's going to happen after that, at least according to most of the charts once again. Now, I don't like putting info out unless there's more than one source to verify that. So, once again, we see Hector blowing up and just beelining right to the Big Island. It leaves stage left, and then we have this situation going on. We have two invests that are currently being watched. We can see them right here. These have jumped up in percentage. This is disturbance number 1, 40% chance instead of 10%. And now we have 90% chance of cyclone formation in 5 days for disturbance number 2. The reason that this one's getting the 90% is what I'm about to show you, and it's a perfect example of what we call the Fujiwara effect. Now, I have talked about this term many times. I've explained it many times, but I'm going to do it again really quick in a nutshell. For those of you that want more detail on it, simply Google the name Fujiwara, and you will get all the info you need. And in a nutshell, it's when two low, strong pressure storms, especially hurricanes, get within about 800 miles of each other. They begin to interact. They spin around each other. More times than not, the bigger of the two survives. There is no real added strength like in the movie The Perfect Storm, where they made it seem like the two hurricanes combined to be one big massive hurricane. Although, in my opinion, it is possible with the right conditions. I don't see this being the situation because once you see after this amazing, just an amazing example of the Fujiwara effect, the storm does begin to die down after this. But check this out. It looks like that second disturbance with the 90% chance of formation literally sticks out arms, grabs it with its left arm, holds it in the palm of its hand, does a spin, and then puts it in its pocket, and then goes out into the Pacific Ocean like it was nothing. So that is what we call the Fujiwara effect. So for those of you that have never heard that term before, now you know a new term. You can go tell your friends that you know what a Fujiwara effect is and you can explain it. 800 miles is about the distance they begin to interact. And again, the bigger of the two storms, like you can see here, this one literally sticks its arms out and just takes it. And that's that. So I had to show that to you guys. That was a very interesting thing to see. One of the cooler Fujiwara effect things I've seen on these data charts in a long, long time. Actually, in all reality, it is a good thing because that keeps it to one storm rather than two, even though by the end of this we have a third storm, significant hurricane that is going to form. But we're talking August 18th, so a lot of time before we can really start putting some any sort of guarantee on that happening. But the fact that this part of the Pacific Ocean is just spitting out storm after storm after storm, there's something going on in the atmosphere that is allowing this to happen. And if this is going to be a regular occurrence, then we're going to be going through a lot of letters in the Pacific hurricane season. So let's move on here. Let's take a look at the Atlantic Ocean really quick and see what we're dealing with as of right now. Now, about a month ago, you would never see any green moving down in this area from the west coast of Africa towards the Leeward Islands. We are beginning to see that. Not only that, but we're beginning to see storms collecting and connecting to each other, and that is how we get our depressions. That's when we get our tropical storms, and that is when we get our Category 1 hurricanes. Those are the steps that need to be taken in order for us to get to that process, and we're beginning to see it. So while the Pacific Ocean is totally on fire right now, just spitting out hurricanes, you can see right here, the bottom left corner, this is the Pacific Ocean, and then we got the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic going on right here. So if you watch closely, you can see that a lot of these storms are making it past the Leeward Islands and then getting really fueled up in this area. And because of the tropical intensity chart, once this moisture system gets here, they're in prime time location for cyclone formation. So anything can happen with this. Even this blob right here you see on August 9th, this could easily turn into a depression and then become a hurricane, just like we dealt with Alberto. Alberto pretty much came out of nowhere in this area and went straight up. So it's that time of year. It's August. It's when we see these storms begin to come off the west coast of Africa, and we just got to wait and see what happens. So let's check out the GOES satellite real quick and see what our situation is with the U.S. And we have no changes whatsoever. The jet stream is in one of its deepest dips I've ever seen, pushing all this warm moisture from the Gulf and the Caribbean and even out in by the Bahamas, and just being pushed right up the East Coast, saturating every state on its way. We talked about this a lot. No need to really get into it much more. This is probably going to go on through next Wednesday. And it's spotty because right now where I live, we have no rain, but we had a quick storm come by. We saw some flashes of lightning. We heard some thunder, but it kind of passed fairly quickly. So it's not like the entire East Coast is just getting bombarded. But what's happening is it's raining in certain areas and it's downpouring in others. All that water's got to go somewhere, and that somewhere is down, and that is your creeks, that is your rivers, anything. That could be the divot in your backyard. Anywhere water goes, it just wants to go down, and once it does that, it begins to crest, and that's going to be the issue here. Our rivers, and especially rivers, rather, is what I wanted to say there, and lakes too. Lakes actually can get overflowed. A little easier to deal with when you're dealing with the lake situation. When it comes to rivers, though, there's a lot of property on riversides. That's why they have data charts that let you know like centimeters and changes. So here's a lightning chart to match that up. We got some storms going on the west coast of Florida, actually. They were on the east coast earlier. Now they're on the west coast. These will move up into the Carolinas, and then so on and so forth. They will continue to be pressed against the east coast by the high pressure in the Atlantic Ocean, and again, that big U, the jet stream U, pushing it this way. So that is why we have that line of moisture. What do we got here? Oh, a very cool look at the sand that is coming off of the western coast of Africa still. You can see this color here. That is sand in the air moving along with the clouds, and some of it has been keeping these storms away from us. But if you notice, some of these storms and these cloud accumulations are underneath the sand. So in a way, they're almost guiding these storms south towards the Leeward Islands, and that's why you saw that green blob pop up. Where is that one again? So we can show you that. Maybe I don't have it up anymore. Maybe I clicked out of it. There it is. So you could see the sand was coming right about here, and everything was moving underneath it. You could see these white areas were those spots with the clouds, and then once it made it into the Leeward Island area underneath Haiti and Dominican Republic, that is where our tropical intensity chart showed those deep red colors that we always look at. And that is when these can form right here, just like Alberto did, just like Hurricane Nate did last year, and then they beelined right through the gap of Cancun and Cuba here, and then right into the Gulf. So this right here, this mass could easily become a tropical cyclone. The reason they're not showing it as one is because we are just not far enough ahead in the data to determine whether or not we're going to get any rotation from it. So I hope I covered everything pretty accurate with the update. Main concern right now clearly is the island of Hawaii. So the people of Hawaii already know about this. It's been in mainstream news all day today. I've been watching, and we've had a few shifts of where this thing will make landfall or wants to make landfall. We may have a few more, but as we get closer to these dates here, especially the date of the 8th, the more accurate the info will become, whether it's going to go south, whether it's going to go north, or whether it's going to go straight over the island as a Category 2 storm, which would basically be pretty devastating at this point of time with the volcano going off, with everyone already in anxiety mode, just tired of the earthquakes and the ground shaking and having to relocate, just things you don't want to deal with. And that's unfortunate. It's just the way the weather works, and it's Mother Nature. Really quick, we could watch this Fujiwara go on Ventu Sky as well, because like I said, these charts are matching up pretty accurate right now. They're all agreeing that this is a situation that is more than likely going to happen, and you can see the bigger the two storms, this one moves over top, little one comes underneath. I don't think we'll be seeing our arms too much here, but you could see that this thing gets pulled right into it, and then on they go. We now have one storm rather than two, but by the 12th you can kind of see that it's moving more in a northwest direction, which is where those cooler waters are and which is where that high pressure is. And that is usually the path these storms take, because they come up towards the Baja region and they tend to fizzle out before they get to California. But with what's been going on in the weather, I would not be surprised to see a storm make it close to California this year. And you can still see that Hector out here is still a full-blown hurricane even after making landfall on the Big Island and every island behind it, and then moves on into the basic West Pacific. So we're going to have a lot of following of Hector to do in the coming days. So we got to watch the Atlantic Ocean, we got to watch the Pacific Ocean, because it's hurricane season. That's what we do. And I think that's it for tonight, guys. I will be back hopefully in the morning. If I get up early enough, I have an early morning start tomorrow, so if I don't get that video out in the morning, you can guarantee I will be talking to you this afternoon. States on the East Coast, just try to stay dry. That's what we're doing. And thank you all for listening. Once again, I'll talk to you all very soon. Have a great night, and take care. Bye-bye.